is or you ain't. You do or you don't. You can or you can't. Or you will or you won't. Either way, baby, a good man, well, he's hard to find. Welcome to the One More for the Good Guys podcast, where good guys gather to shed light on the good life, the people, and the good things that make it that way. I'm Mike McGill with my co-host, Jamie Akins. Now, raise your glass, lend us your ear, and let's have one more for the good guys. You either is or you ain't. You do or you don't. You can or you can't. Or you will or you won't. Either way, baby, a good man, well, he's hard to find. Hey, everybody, McGill Billy here with you.
And I am Jamie.
We are one more for the good guys. Thanks for sticking around. Thanks for coming back. Thanks for subscribing, sharing, liking, all that good stuff. If you haven't done that, but you've been listening,
then shame on you.
Shame on you.
Yeah.
Please, please, please like, share, subscribe to the YouTube channel as well as to our social media channels or pages, rather.
And send us some ideas that you'd like us to talk about.
Yeah.
That way all the ideas don't fall on us. All right?
We're here today to, I think this is going to be a little bit nostalgia. We got to talking about different podcast ideas when it's just the two of us. Obviously, we got more guests coming. We got lots of guests lined up in the future. We were talking about coming up with ideas, and Jamie did a really good job. He came up with a ton of different ideas, and we landed on this one.
I had a gummy. It helped.
That always helps.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of helping, cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
So he came up with the idea of making a list of our top 7. I don't know why we chose 7. Seems like
we did top 7 movies, top 7.
Okay.
Just to be different.
So a top 7 list of our dream cars.
Right.
Now, as we were talking about that and talking about what some of those might be, or bouncing that idea back and forth with each other, I came up with the idea of we should mix that in with our first car. So what was our first car? What did we learn to drive on? All that good stuff. Seems like a nice little segue to talk about that then and jump into the cars that we'd love or dream to own.
Yeah.
Before we get too far down the road with that, you like see what I did there?
I like that.
Too far down the road?
Yeah, it's good. See what you did there.
What are we smoking? What are you smoking today, Jamie?
I am smoking a La Aroma de Cuba, the original blend.
Nice.
In a Robusto size, which is, golly, man. I know we did a list of top 5 that we couldn't. This one right here is a cigar you could smoke every day, forever, and be like, okay, I'm okay with that. Funny story about these. I started smoking these years ago, and Mike started smoking them years ago. And then we started talking about, hey, what is you like to smoke? And then we mentioned this brand as one of our go-tos. And so now we got humidors full of them. I forget, you're the master when it comes to what this is. I know this is a Connecticut broadleaf wrapper, right?
It is a Connecticut broadleaf wrapper over Nicaraguan binder and filler.
Yeah. So anyway,
rolled at the Garcia factory for Ashton.
Yeah, this is
Ashton is the
blended by the cigar Jedi himself. And highly recommend it. This brand is very, very affordable. They don't make anything that's got La Aroma de Cuba on it that's not fantastic.
I don't think so.
And I don't know that they even sell anything that's more than $10 a stick. Maybe special stuff that comes out. But if you shop and you wait, these are always lurking around on sale, and you should definitely scoop some up. There's this cigar is as close to flawless as a $6 cigar can be. From construction to burn to flavor, it is really one of those perfect top smokes. And what are you smoking?
And good enough for
beginners,
beginner or an experienced smoker.
Yeah.
If you're to enjoy. I'm not saying good enough as in there's standards, but it's good enough for either somebody like us that smokes 2 or 3 cigars a day, 1 cigar a day, or just the occasional and or the inexperienced or newbie.
Yeah, if I've got a newbie that's interested because we smoke or sees me smoking or whatever, this is the one I hand them. If you want your friends to smoke cigars, give them one of these. Mm-hmm. And if they don't like this, they're probably not going to like anything.
Yeah, that's really a good point. They're probably just not going to be
and that's okay too.
Lover. Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
okay. Not everybody's perfect. You know,
absolutely. I am smoking the Flor de las Antillas. My Father Factory. This won Cigar of the Year in 2012 from Cigar Aficionado. Rolled in the same company as the La Aroma, but this is under the My Father brand. So same blender, same rollers. This is a Nicaraguan Puro, I'm going to say. It is a sun-grown wrapper. Anything other than that is undisclosed with Nicaraguan binder, Nicaraguan filler. And this is in a Toro size, which is a 6x52. Robusto size is good in this too. The Toro was the actual size that won the Cigar of the Year. 6x52. And is a wonderful size, wonderful stick. If you're not into that, then you can get these in a Robusto in a 5x50. These are very economically priced. And we just watched a live stream with Cigar Hound Dog, Master Your Ash, Vintage Cigar, and Cigar Alchemist, and Pig Jimmy.
Right.
And Pig Jimmy was smoking one of these, and because they go around the horn to see what everybody's smoking, and as soon as he told them, every one of them were like, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's just one of those.
Yeah.
It's just one of those cigars.
Yeah, and very much like this, as far as, hey, fill your humidor with these and you're going to like them all the time. So, and life's too short to smoke stuff you don't like.
Yeah, and very Nicaraguan flavor profiles on both these cigars. That one's going to be a little more sweet because of the broadleaf and the Maduro wrapper. That cigar also, the one Jamie's smoking, is a good reason to not be afraid of the color. Show them that color. That's a darker cigar, right?
Focus is better over your face. This focus is better.
Versus this one.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are scared of the darker cigars because they think they're going to be that much stronger.
And that's not always the case.
Straight up medium.
Yeah.
But you're going to get some sweet tobacco sweetness, a little pepper, some leather, lots of good flavor notes on this one. This one, you're going to get a little bit of coffee, a little bit of cocoa, some spice, some kind of like some bacon spice and some pepper. But either stick, again, priced very economically. You can easily either one of these are easily box worthy if you decide you like them. They're definitely worth a 5-pack.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
You know, if you've never tried either one of them before, get you a 5-pack of either one of these, and you won't be wrong. And the next thing, I guarantee you, the next thing you'll be talking about is I just ordered me a box of those.
Yeah, absolutely. These two sticks are that way. Don't be turned off by the dark wrapper. You know,
not on this cigar.
And really, most of the time, I mean, there are some dark wrappers out there that'll get after you, like that. That Partagas Blacks, that Diablo. Punch Diablos.
That's a good cigar.
It is a good cigar, but it's a
chocolate bomb.
Yeah. But, darker Maduro means ripe. So it's not necessarily, that's just stacked full of nicotine or whatever. But you'll love both of these. These are definitely, I would, if you said, hey guys, what should I put in my humidor or what should I buy first? These are going to be on our list, probably. Certainly this one, and that one there is just as good. It's just not as readily available from what I can tell in your brick and mortar. So anyway, today we're going to talk about our first car, and then we'll segue into, what our first car was, how we got it, all that, and what we rather it would have been. Mm-hmm. When you first start driving, you have delusions of grandeur, so why don't you start?
Okay, so my first car, I was telling Jamie this story a little earlier, but and I'll save a bunch of the details, but was a 1979 Ford Fiesta. Now, for you that don't know what that looks like, it looks like this.
Yeah, that's right.
It was basically looked like a Volkswagen Rabbit, but it was made by Ford. German Volkswagen parts were actually entered, some of them, not all of the parts, but a lot of the parts were interchangeable with the German, with the Rabbit parts. And a little front wheel drive car, no AC,
hatchback.
4-speed, hatchback. It was gold with a chocolate brown stripe down the side.
All right.
And hopefully maybe we can find a picture of that. Or if I find one, I'll send it to you. But at any rate, black pleather interior, no AC, 4-speed. And if you think about, so even a hatchback car today, what do you think? Your entry level cars probably still got 15-inch rims on it?
14 at least.
14 at least. This car had 12-inch rims. Little bitty things, right?
Hot Wheels.
So basically the same size rims as like your John Boat trailer.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
So at any rate, that was my first car. My dad had gave me an old boat that we had, and we had fished out of it quite a bit. And my dad was always really good at taking me and doing all this stuff, but I was really young when he was taking me to go hunting and fishing and hanging out with the boys and playing, this and that and the other. And as I got older and really started developing an appreciation for that kind of stuff and kind of knowing what I was doing without having to ask him all the time about, tying my knots or I got a backlash, and things like that. Well, his work schedule changed and his shifts changed and just went really crazy. And my dad being a good dad, provided for his family. Well, little old me at my age, I didn't understand that. So I popped off one day, not with anything really smart or anything, but they were getting ready to go on vacation. And I was like, I don't ever get to use the boat because I don't have a vehicle to pull it with. And I have to have you to help me. And then you got to be, and you're either working and blah, blah, blah. And he just looked at me and he said, well, sell the damn thing if that's what you want to do. It's like, then you won't have to worry about it.
Okay.
I was like, okay. So they went on vacation. The next day, I put it in the Bargain Mart.
Bargain Mart, yeah.
Remember that one?
Oh, yeah.
So the Bargain Mart, for y'all that don't know, was basically an independent little trades paper.
Classified ads.
Classified ads. Thank you. And I put it in there. And, dude, by the next day after it came out, I sold that boat. I sold that boat for $1,200. I went to my sister-in-law, to her dad, and bought the Fiesta for $500.
Wow.
And then had $700 left over for insurance and tax, my tags and, the taxes on it to get it titled and everything. And they came back like a long weekend later, and I had a car and I was driving.
Where's the boat?
Where's the boat? Did Mac come over? Because that's the guy's name who owned it before me. I see his car out there, and I'm like, no, that's mine.
Yeah.
Did you? What? Blah, 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 blah. And I was like, yeah, I did. And yes.
Yeah. Don't tell me to sell some.
Yeah. So, anyway, I had lots of good times. There's one real quick good story on it. So, Darren Russell, do you know Darren?
I think so.
He went to Carter, was in my grade. Darren was that kid when we went over from East Knox to Carter Middle. They were calling roll in homeroom that day. And they was like, Darren Russell. And he's like, here. He sounded like Alfalfa from our gang, from Little Rascals. Voice changing, we were 7th grade, puberty, all that stuff, And everybody laughed at him, and I felt sorry for him. And so we buddied up after class, and we went through high school, middle school and high school as really, really close buddies. But he and I had Coach Arsenault in fourth period, Coach A. And Coach A was the girls basketball coach, and he also taught world geography. And Coach A was a very trusting, happy-go-lucky. Coach A could have been the dude in a lot of ways, I think he cared a little bit more than the dude, but not much. Not much. So we figured it out that Coach A didn't take roll until Fridays.
Oh.
And he would be like, McGill, you was here all week last week. Yes, sir, Coach A. Yes.
Absolutely.
I wish I had more students like you and Russell over there. And what Coach A didn't know, and maybe he did, maybe he let us get away with it. I don't know. But I want to tell it like this. What he didn't know was every Wednesday. So fourth period back in that time, fourth period would fall right at lunch.
That's right.
Every fourth period, every Wednesday, I got paid from the pizza joint at the mall where I worked.
Luca Pizza.
Which is now Lidio's. Darren and I would leave Carter, drive to Easttown, pick up my check, grab a couple of slices, and come back
before lunch was over.
And we would miss Coach A's class. We wouldn't even be in there.
Oh, you wouldn't go?
No. And my locker was pretty much right outside the geography door where his classroom was.
Yeah.
So I'd always be back and he'd see me at the locker. So I guess he thought, well, yeah, them kids they're good kids. They never cause any trouble.
Right.
But one day we go to get the check. Now this is a little bitty 4-cylinder hatchback car. It's not a speed, there's nothing about it, hot rod. And I said something to Darren about, I got it to 100 the other night. And he's like, bullshit. There ain't no way this thing can do 100. So I hammered down on it, right? And I'm coming back from Easttown, and there sits his highway patrolman.
Oh, no.
And he pulls us over.
Oh, no.
And Darren's laughing his balls off. He's laughing so hard. I can't believe this. I told you some bitch would do 100. Blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, you probably ain't going to think it's so funny when that cop realizes that we're laying out of school.
Oh, yeah.
And he was like, ooh. So the cop comes up. I'm nervous wreck. I've never been in trouble a day in my life or anything like that with the police, right? And
that came later in life.
Yeah, that came a lot later. Thanks for bringing that up. This guy, I'll tell you what, friends like him. But so anyway, we talked to him, blah, blah, blah. I'm trying to get back to school. We're running behind. What are you doing out of school? Well, we had a pass. I got a hardship pass, or I made some shit up, you know. Well, and I said, hey, just, you know, I don't know anything how any of this works. I said, but, you know, how would you recommend a young man, parents not finding out about something like this? And he said, son, you just got to be first to the mailbox. And he put his hat back on and he turned around and walked off. I was like, shit. Okay. So every day, I mean,
so he wrote
I probably came home that evening. Wrote me a ticket.
Oh, yeah.
I probably came home that evening and went to the mailbox thinking, just in case, I'll be the first one there. But anyway, I paid the ticket. Nothing.
Did they find out?
No big deal. I don't think they did. I think I told on myself years later just because it was such a good story.
Yeah.
But at any rate, that was my first car. You know, I went on my first date and everything else. That was had me a good radio system in it. You know, first time I really felt like I was by myself and able to listen to whatever I wanted to, as loud as I wanted to, or whenever. So yeah, the first car is a big thing. Yeah. Even if it was a 79 Ford Fiesta.
Well, at that time we talked about earlier, it's only 7 or 8 years.
This was like 88.
Yeah, 7 or 8 year old car. So, that's big. That ain't bad. You know, and hatchbacks are cool, man. Especially when you're young, you know. Well, even now, you know, they come in handy in what we do. You throw your guitar in the back and go on about your business. So,
and I loved it. I don't know if I ever complained about not having air conditioning. You know what I mean? Like,
no, that came later too.
Yeah, that came a lot later. Yeah.
Oh my God.
What was your first one, Jamie?
First car was a 1988 Buick Electra. Hoopty. Yeah. And it was basically new because this was 1990. My grandmother passed away and she left me that car. She left that car to me. It had low mileage. It was like a burgundy, deep red. It was a luxury car. It did not have leather, but it had real plush seats in it, power, everything. Had that AC Delco radio in it. And I had just switched schools. And I thought, man, I'm going to be the laughing stock of the whole place driving my granny's car. And it's just the opposite of that. Everybody loved it, man.
Yeah.
And I loved that car. It was just...
You had a cruiser.
Yeah, and it got great fuel mileage. Of course, gas was 89 cents a gallon. But still, you could go all week on $5, you know, back and forth to school. It was, safe, my mother would say. But it was just a great car, and it lasted for years.
You know what's crazy is like, it was big, and moms and everybody thought everything like that was safe, right?
Right.
The cars today are probably safer.
Oh, yeah, and smaller.
I mean, with the technology and the crumple zones, because they're built to.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
They thought they were building them then to outlast.
Right.
You know, or not get hurt. Anyway.
Well, just, by being so massive that you were safer because there's so much between you. But it was a front wheel drive, had that 3.8. I think they called it the 3800 at that time. And it was just a great car, man. Power windows. It was slick and it just ran. So that was it. And I loved that vehicle.
Had a big back seat, too.
Big back seat, too. If you're listening, I never used that back seat, not one time. So
everybody knows he's a damn liar.
So that was my car. And, first I was like, I don't know if I want to drive that or not. But then, man, I was like, I drive that all the time. So spent many, many, many nights down at the Dollar Theater in that Buick Electra, boy. So, but yeah, I that was not my dream car when I got it, and I'm sure yours wasn't either. But man, it was a car, and it was reliable, and it got me from point A to point B.
Well, they were ours.
They were ours,
and that was probably the biggest liberating fact of being a young man and having your first vehicle.
Yeah.
You could go where you wanted to go.
Well, I thought that.
Rely on, well,
that's what we thought. Yeah.
Give or take.
Right. Give or take. Yeah.
You know.
So,
any funny car stories?
Well,
with that one in particular?
One time I was driving it home, and we lived on Riverside over there, on the and it's really curvy on that side. And I was coming home, and I was a little too late for curfew. I think 11 o'clock. It was like 11:02. And of course, Mom, she wasn't good with time until it was time for me to be home, and then and that was before cell phones were affordable. And it was a little slick, and I made one of those curves, and there was a guardrail, and I just slammed into the side of that thing. And the way it sounded like a garbage truck falling off the Empire State Building. It was that kind of sound, like in Pee-wee's Adventure or whatever. But it was that kind of sound, and I thought, oh my God. So I went as another couple miles to the house. I drove home, and I got out, and I was prepared for the worst. I knew that whole right side of that car was just smashed, and there wasn't a mark on it. Not a mark. I even went inside after I checked it and got Dad, which was scary, Well,
yeah, because you didn't know how they were going to react.
Oh yeah,
and I guess I don't want to speak for your situation, but as a parent myself, the first thing you really want to know is if everybody's okay.
Right. Yeah.
And usually, if you're fortunate enough to be able to say, yes, I'm okay, she's okay, he's, or if you had people.
But everything else is fixable.
It kind of de-escalates the situation. But
I didn't go get him till I
might have went crazy and beat you. I don't know.
No, he wouldn't have beat me, but it would have been some verbal exchange involved. But no, it was perfect. It was literally a miracle. I thought for sure. And I don't know if the tires had just got off in the gravel and it made such a noise that I thought I hit it or what, but man, not a scratch on it. So really not a whole lot of interesting stories with that car. But that was one. I remember that, man. And I wasn't driving too fast. It was just a little slick, and it just got away from me a little bit. So anyway, dream cars. So we were going to come up with the 7 cars that we thought or think that, that's the end all be all, right?
Yes.
And I made a list, you made a list. And you want to start, or you want me to start?
Makes me never mind. I can start if you'd like.
Yeah, go ahead since you started anyway.
Number 1 on my list would have to be, I always thought it would be cool to own any car from my birth year.
Oh.
And just so happens in 1971, Ford made one of the baddest fucking cars on the planet. We had a 1970 Ford Torino, and they also made this in 1970, but in 1971, they made a Ford Cobra Jet Torino. Had the 429 big block, and it would absolutely haul ass.
And you don't see them now.
And you don't see them. And that's even a regular Torino, like the dude's car, Starsky and Hutch. That was a Grand Torino. And that was a completely different body style.
That's right.
So this model car had that same shape as like the, all the 70 model, that model muscle car was like the Chevelle or the
Nova
or the 442 or
rounded.
Yeah, they were more rounded, long, The
heavy.
Torino kind of had a front end and almost kind of looked like, or kind of reminded you of like a Mako shark. You know, it was real mean looking, in my opinion. But that would be if I could. You just don't. And I'm not the 69 Camaro or the 55 or 57 Chevy guy. I like the weird shit. I like stuff you don't see. I like stuff you don't have. I like to be different, you know. Right. So my muscle car or hot rod things or dream cars, they're going to be different things. They're not going to be. I want you to see me driving one and being like,
"What the hell is that?
What the hell is that? What is that thing? It looks cool as everything, but what is that? Idea. You know."
I don't know that I've ever laid eyes on a 71 Torino in person. I don't know that that's ever happened.
Yeah, well, they are. They're a bad mamma jamma.
Yeah, I mean,
they're a bad mamma jamma.
Yeah, they. And I guess sort of the back end kind of looks like a Gran Torino a little bit.
Yeah, or maybe like a 442 or a Le Mans or something. Yeah. You know, with that kind of stretched long back end. Yeah. But it had kind of, you know, they raced those. That would have been a typical.
Was that the stock
car in NASCAR at the time? Would have been a Torino or they even made one, I think, in the 68 or 69 in the Torino. That was they actually called it a Talladega Torino, which had an extra 4 to 6 inches of nose and 4 to 6 inches of tail added to it. That the Woods brothers and guys like David Pearson, the Woods brothers, the Ford guys back then, they set a lot of records in those cars.
And Dodge had already taken the Daytona name, so they had to go with Talladega.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, my number one, this is my number one dream car. I don't know that we were putting together a list.
I'm not putting mine in any kind of order.
Okay. Well, this is my number one.
Are we supposed to?
No. Okay. No, it's our list. But this has always been, as long as I can remember, this has been Jamie, you can have one vehicle, no cost, spare no expense. Here it is. And this is more along the lines of something that this is one of the most popular muscle cars of all time, and particularly this year. But mine's a 1970 Chevy Chevelle Super Sport. With the racing stripes. I'd prefer to have a black one with white stripes.
Well, it's SS stripes. Super Sport
that's
stripes.
Right. And with 454 in it, which is but I just love that. All those Chevelles of the late 60s and early 70s I like, but there's something about the front end of the 70 that I just love. And, they're priced out they're outrageous.
But they're crazy expensive
hundreds,
now.
$100,000, but and it wouldn't have to be an original. I'm okay with a 1,000 horsepower motor. I could deal with that.
Yeah.
And hood clips and whatever.
Well, I think if I was getting one too, now I got to clarify this just a little bit. I would like, first of all, it'd be fine if it was completely original. I'd be fine with that as well.
But those are more.
But I would also I don't know if I'd want a full-on resto mod, but it would be nice on some of these if there were some resto mods going on to where you did have power steering, power brakes,
air conditioning,
the amenities that you can get on a newer vehicle, because that also means with then you can, you wouldn't be afraid to take this thing on a trip or take it to, drive it to the beach or whatever.
Yeah, or drive it more than 5 minutes in the summer with no air conditioning. Yeah.
Well, and then with the 70s cars, vapor locks. Remember that?
Yes.
Because it was right there during that time period of ethylene, non-ethylene gas, unleaded, leaded, all that shit, and it never failed. and I don't know if this was as, I don't know if this was as, prevalent or it happened more often than maybe my dad just made it up a lot.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I bet it's vapor locked. You see somebody stalled out,
right? Especially
like in traffic, maybe coming back from Gallenberg or something like that, where you're in stop and go traffic for more than 20 minutes.
Vapor locked.
Yeah, but I bet you, I guarantee you, that damn thing's vapor locked.
All right, so 1970 Chevelle. That's my car.
That's yours.
That's
all right,
top of the heap right there.
I'm up next.
Yep.
Man, this is one of the coolest little cars ever. I had an affinity with Volkswagen. I still do. I love them. I think they're, I don't know, just something about, and even with the old ones, especially the old ones, it's obvious Hitler didn't do a lot of great things. No great things. Let's rephrase that. But when they came out with the design of the Volkswagen, and there's 4 bolts that hold this engine in there, and it's like 85 pounds, and you can pick it up and set it on a work table.
Pound per horsepower.
Right. I mean, it's pretty incredible. Now, again, if it was an original, that'd be great. But if we could put a little Pookie on it and do a little sweetening to it, I'd want a Type 3 1965 notchback VW.
Wow. I don't see those either.
How gorgeous is that car, man? It's got European, it's the poor man's version of the Porsche.
Well,
in a sedan.
Yeah.
Or in a coupe. I guess in the sport line, it would probably be in the VW, the poor man's version of the Porsche would be like the Carmen Ghia.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But you just don't see those.
That's gorgeous too.
And you just don't see
them. That wasn't a rear engine design though. That was was it? Oh,
yeah,
it was also
it's in the back.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's in the back.
Volkswagens. I've owned some Volkswagens. That's one of those car companies that, it's just my opinion, started off great.
They're pretty quirky.
Yeah, the new stuff.
Especially a period of time.
Yeah, we had a diesel Jetta.
I think the newer stuff now is probably, probably better than they've ever been.
Maybe so.
But I guess
we had a diesel.
Probably say that about a lot of different makes and manufacturers.
The Jetta TDI that we had got like 55 miles a gallon.
Yeah.
I mean, it was great, but they sounded different. They sound a certain way. It was kind of like driving a tractor, sort of. But yeah, I have never seen one of those in person either. I have seen that vehicle, but I've never seen one in person. You got you're 2-0 here on cars I've never laid eyes on.
You normally only kind of see them in the at like VW shows.
Yeah.
Like they have a big VW show up in,
or like a Barrett Jackson auction or something
every year, and you'll see some notchbacks and you'll even see, I know you've seen one of those.
Oh yeah.
That's a notchback, but it's in the wagon.
Dad's first car that he bought new was a fastback.
That's that one right there.
Yep.
And that's another one that you can see some folks doing some things too, man, and they make them look cool. They make them look cool as hell. But that Type 3 1965, that's the notchback. That's I love it.
And just so you know, we talked about doing this, and I was like, well, do we want to just only pick cars that were from like our era and later? And it's like, no, whatever. So these are just, anything's up for grabs here. Okay, so
and I want a 1980 Subaru GL hatchback.
Hey,
who knows?
I made my list based upon I could have anything I wanted.
Yeah.
Okay. So you went with the notchback there. All right,
Cobra Jet, and then the Type 3 notchback. Yeah.
My list is very reminiscent of everything I wanted when I was 12 years old. So, which I still want. All right, number 2 on my list, and not necessarily number 2 on in my heart, but number 2 on my list. I was 12 years old. 1986 Lamborghini Countach.
Hell yeah.
And had the poster.
You know, Miami Vice, a number 1 TV show.
Absolutely.
Hell yeah, everybody wanted a Countach, man.
Everybody wanted one. And later in life, when I was looking at those, because, you know, as far as Lamborghinis go, they're still affordable for a Lamborghini.
Yeah.
But they're still ridiculous. But apparently they were like a sled, man. They don't drive well. It's a collector's item because of what it meant from popular culture and whatnot. But man, when that thing came out, that was the slickest damn thing going, wasn't it?
Absolutely.
And I was just like, golly.
Well, I mean, my God, it was as 80s as Jackson guitars. You know what I mean? In the music field.
Absolutely.
I mean, pointy guitars, pointy cars, hot women, bikinis, Miami Vice. I mean, yeah,
those
Countach,
doors,
yeah. Well, they weren't gull wings. They came up.
Yeah, they
came up like that.
Right.
Yeah, or like this.
That's right. Yeah, forward.
Yeah.
Anyway, badass car. Of course, you'd have to get it in red because that was it. There was a game. I had a Commodore 64, and there was a game on a floppy disk. Like a 5 1/4, not a 3 1/2. And it was called Test Drive. And you could drive these cars. Of course, the graphics weren't much, but it was fun. And they made that series of games for a long time. But that was one of them. On there was the Lamborghini 86 Countach. I think it was an 86. There's a 911 Turbo on there, and a Maserati and a Lotus, and probably a Ferrari of some sort. But yeah, man, that was the car. I'd love to have one to this day. So number 2, 86 Lamborghini Countach. In red.
Okay, so I'm gonna go pretty obscure.
Okay.
And again, you know, I want the cool shit nobody else has got. So I was watching Barrett Jackson one day, and I seen this car come across the block. This was several years ago. And the front grill section, when they you know how they do the motion with the camera, and the guy does the walk around, and in 1958 it came with blah 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 blah.
Oh yeah.
And then the automatic close hinges, you know. And they got around to the grill, and I was just like,
whoa.
Oh. I can't remember how many he said there were, but basically there's all of these in the grill. They're square, right? They're square aluminum or chrome. Obviously they're chrome. But these squares, and they're all made on like a strip, but they all were handmade.
Oh man.
I mean, so it's kind of like, have you ever seen, and you guys out there, have you ever seen what they call dental block crown molding?
Oh, yeah.
Where it's got all the little squares underneath.
Mm-hmm.
Well, back in the day, the way they used to make that crown molding in the early 1900s, each one of those was a hand-cut little square. It wasn't, they milled it out on a CNC machine.
Right. And you got it at
bought
Lowe's.
the stain grade.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. There was actually a lot to it. But my other car would be a 1958 Buick Caballero station wagon.
Oh my God. Another one I've never seen in person.
Hang on. Well, I'll show it to you later. I don't want to take up our time here, but I'll send you a good picture of it. But look at that grill. Look at that.
Oh man.
I mean, dude, it just reeks of fucking cool. And that's
58
what I'd like
model.
to have. Because, again, are these going to be the most highest resale vehicles in the world? Or am I going to get my investment back? Who gives a fuck?
That's right.
I want it. And that's the one, the 1958 Buick Caballero station wagon.
You're three for three with cars I've never seen in person.
I've never seen one of those in person.
Never.
I've seen the other two in person, but I've never seen one of those.
I'm looking on my list.
But when I seen that thing in the front end on Barrett Jackson, I was like,
I got to have that.
Nothing could drag me away from the glow of electric sex of the TV that night.
It's a major award.
It's a major award.
Oh, man. Well, I went with more. Yeah, I mean, all of my stuff are things that people are looking for. So my list is expensive. All right. So number 3. In 1991, I went to summer school. Not because I had to, because I wanted to graduate early.
Right.
And this guy had my English class. I had to take an English class and a American government and something else. Anyway, an English class, his dad was letting him drive this car to school. And he was in
4.
3.
Sorry.
You picked 3.
Okay.
This is my third one.
Okay,
He was in summer school because he had to be. So as a reward, I guess, his rich daddy said, hey, go ahead and drive this to school. And that's a 1990 Nissan 300ZX twin turbo.
Oh, yeah. Those were badass.
And he had one that was like pearl white.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just, and these things, they're still highly sought after, badass cars. But man, I saw that. I'd buy one. If I found one at a reasonable price, I'd buy one and drive it now. You can't find them at a reasonable price. They're high. I think, from what I understand, and people out there know better than me will correct me, but I think you can modify them.
Yeah.
And, anyway, just gorgeous design. And I can remember the 280Z when we were kids. I was like, man, that's cool. And then the 300ZX came out before this one with and I was like, oh my God. And then this model came out with a twin turbo, and man, shoot, that was the car. That was the first time I saw a sports car and thought, man, I'd like to have one of those. So
yeah,
give or take the year, they made that same body style for 2, 3, 4 years, but I just picked 1990 because that's what he had. So 300ZX twin turbo.
There's a lot of really cool, there's nothing wrong with that. I think one of the coolest things that I like about the car culture is I love I think it's called Cars and Coffee. It's
podcast.
No. It's I think they come to like Westtown Mall once a month. But let's say you got a 1965 3 Series BMW, the little bubble, look like the little bubble.
Sure.
Or let's say you got that.
Right.
You got your 300Z, right?
Yeah.
Well, in that setting, it doesn't have to be a certain make. It doesn't have to be a certain model. It doesn't have to be before a certain year date. Like a lot of these clubs have prerequisites. like the F100. You can only drive F100s, right?
Okay, right.
VW. It's only a VW club. Shades of the Past. That was a big one. Well, they went the way of the dinosaur because you couldn't have anything above 1950, right? So you're limiting yourself to all these, and your car, your favorite car, regardless of whether it's, somebody's dream car out there might be a 1968 Maverick.
Sure.
Somebody's dream car out there might be a 1965 Porsche Spyder, or it could be a damn a 1988 Buick Electra, a 1979 Ford Fiesta, because there's something there that ties you. You have an emotional attachment with those vehicles. And this thing, check it out. I believe it's called Coffee and Cars, and they come out to West Town, and it just is every different kind of make. It's just whoever loves their car comes out.
So just people that love cars looking at cars.
And you'll see all kinds of different ones. It's free. You can go out. You'll see new stuff. You'll see old stuff. You'll see rat rod stuff. You'll see, clunkers, junkers, or showpieces even. But that's the beauty to me of the car culture, is that, if I had a 1979 Ford Fiesta and drove it around a 3-mile block of here, you imagine how many stories I could come up with and remember.
Sure. And
take you right back to that time of feeling that way. That's, to me, is the beauty of like the
nostalgia of cars.
Nostalgia and the car cultures.
Yeah.
Is that kind of thing. So.
I associate the cars I drove with music that I listened to in that car.
Oh, yeah,
a lot
sure.
too. So it's kind of like that. I guess in that coffee and cars kind of thing, it's kind of like the cigar culture. It's like you can sit down with like this smoke next to somebody that's smoking a $30 Davidoff or something and have a conversation, and he's not going to look down on you because you got a $6 smoke. That kind of thing. I appreciate that part of the car culture too. I mean, there are snobby car cultures too, I'm sure.
Yeah, and there's a lot of them that have, like I said, prerequisites or requirements.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Well, yeah, you got to have cool parameters. Too. If you're going to have a club, you got to have boundaries.
That's cool too.
What you got at number 4?
I've got a 1955 Mercedes 300 SL Gullwing. That's what I got in.
Yeah.
Number 4 or number 5?
4.
That's 4. Okay.
Never seen one in person.
No, me neither. It's probably because they sell for like, $1
million,
6.8 million.
Yeah.
Record setters. But you've seen the car. The car. I mean, that's the epitome of fucking cool, man.
Well, I mean, if you
the Gullwing fighter, Baba Black Sheep, Robert Conrad,
they invented
knock it off.
They invented the automobile, right?
Yeah, I've heard they're really not comfortable. I mean, they're not like the great,
right? But then they were the cat's meow, buddy.
But this is the dream.
That's right.
So.
But there's something to be said for, though. I mean, even with today's cars, you mentioned this, but all today's cars, they feel a lot alike when you sit in them.
They all look alike.
Yeah,
they all look like a fucking Converse Chuck T with 4 wheels on them. You can't tell a Nissan from a Kia to a Hyundai to a Toyota.
Yeah.
If it's an SUV, and they're all fucking shit. They've all got blind spots. You can't see dick out of them.
Yeah. That's why I got 12 cameras cameras in them.
I'm not, it's just, there's no, and I guess that's where, like, we'll take my list, for instance. We've went around the world, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
But there's no individuality with it.
Agreed.
You know what I mean?
I agree.
It's just like, okay, there's 200 people, or there's 10 guys and they all drive a Camry, or there's 10 girls and they all drive an Accord. Well,
and those cars have their place. You know,
absolutely.
They're fine, everyday drivers,
vehicles.
whatever. But, you know, I like to be able to press the gas, and I know that I just burnt a half a gallon of gasoline.
Well,
there's something pleasurable about that.
I just want to drive up in something that not everybody else has fucking got.
Well, you just named 4 cars that there ain't nobody around here got.
Yeah, so.
Or at least that I know.
That's my number 5, or my number 4. 1955 300 SL Mercedes Gullwing.
This number 4 car is probably realistically the most famous American car of all time. And the reason I picked it is because it reminds me of the first time that I remember being able to recognize cars. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I'm pretty good at looking at a car and going, okay, that's a Ford, or that's a Buick, even the older stuff. And this was the first time that I, as a child, I was able to, and I was like, man, that's cool. And it was probably in some movie I wasn't supposed to be watching, like Porky's or whatever, you know. But this is going to sound like a cop out kind of pick, but this car means, that's what it means to me. And that's the 1957 Chevy Bel Air. They just look
beautiful
cool.
Car.
Beautiful car. I know that they've been restored, and they kind of the poster child for, you know, the 1950s automobile, but man, there's something about them. And it, you know, that wing on the back, it just makes it, you can tell, okay, that's a 57. And I got to where I could say, okay, that's a 55 or that's a 56. But my point is, nobody talks about the 58 Chevrolet. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's the 57. So for me, it's that. I'd take it any way I could get it, you know, just like I do about anything else. But man, a 57 Chevy would, look really nice in the driveway.
Well, it's as, you know, I mean, if you want to get right down to it, it's as American as apple pie.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you think about car culture, you go to a car show, there's going to be a 57 Chevrolet.
Or 10.
Yeah. Or, yeah, exactly.
Right.
But they are also, well, I guess what I'm really trying to say is they are a very iconic piece of American history.
Right.
In car culture, for sure.
And of course, that was their top of the line, the Bel Air series. And I guess something about that era of cars that I appreciate. Apparently, the 57 showed the good news. There were 1.5 million units made and sold. That's really a lot for 1957. What I started to say is that, you know, now you pick any car manufacturer and you're like, okay, well, Honda's got the Accord and they got the Civic and they've got, you know, the Passport and they've got the CRV and they got an SRV, I think now, and all blah, 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 blah. When in the 50s, it was the 57 Chevrolet.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And they had a Nomad, which was the station wagon version of it, but there wasn't a whole lot of different models per manufacturer. Right. Mm-hmm. They weren't like today where, you know, Chevy makes 10 different things. I appreciate that about that then. But the 57 Chevy, I mean, that sounds like, well, everybody's got that on their list. Well, that's fine and dandy, but it was the first old car that I could recognize. Oh, that's 57. Yeah.
Absolutely. No, I'm trying to find it because there's definitely one, and this is a really interesting thing that I'm getting ready to tell you, and I don't know if you were ever aware of this or not, but, okay, yeah, that's what I wanted to see right there. No, man, there's nothing more classic than a 57 Chevy. I mean, 57 Chevy, you think American Graffiti, you think
Happy Days,
Sock Hops, you think Happy Days, you think drive-ins, you think girls and roller skates, you think cheeseburgers, malts, milkshakes. You know, I mean, it's
and all of those are good thoughts.
Absolutely,
you know,
absolutely. All right, what number I'm on?
You're on 5.
I'm on a fucking roll. That's
yes,
what number
you are. You're on 5.
I'm picking my 5th one.
Yep.
Okay. I just learned about this the other day, and I learned about this on our good friend, Ben Fields, who's been on the podcast before. He also hosts the South of Scruffy podcast, right? He had a fella on by the name of Thomas Kinser. Thomas Kinser was basically a guy who did aftermarket add-ons to vintage style Broncos.
Cool.
But he got so good at it and was so successful with it that, like, when Ford was designing the new Bronco, they came to him.
Is this a Knoxville
with
person?
Ideas. They're in Maryville.
Okay.
Now, what you can do with Kinser, Mr. Kinser. So I'll just read you this just real quick. Starting from tinkering in his own garage, Kinser built the industry leading company for those who want to build an early year model Ford Bronco or convert their old Ford truck to 4-wheel drive. And this guy is actually, Ford came to him and stamps their names on the parts that he came up with and machined to do this. Big fucking deal.
Yeah, that's pretty much a seal of approval from Ford.
Exactly. And then the 8 years that they're developing, or 10 years, however long it was that they're developing the new Bronco, they wanted his opinion on what to bring back to retro it enough to make it familiar for everyone.
They did a good job with it. It looks good.
But you basically can go buy you, if you wanted a 1965 Ford Bronco, which is number 5.
Well, those I have seen.
I would want one from him, and I'd spec it out and build it just the way I wanted. Probably with a 289 V8. Nothing crazy, but would have the best of the best brand new stuff on it, and parked, and I would want the body. I would want to be able to park it in a parking lot and it looked just like a stock 1965 Bronco. So as plain Jane as you could get it, but everything from the powertrain up would be all brand new.
What's special about the 65? Is that a first year, or I'm not familiar with that.
I don't think it's a first year. It's just the first year. I remember my buddy Darren, his dad had one, or an uncle had one. We went deer hunting one time up in Hawkins County, and it seemed like we climbed the side of a damn mountain
with it.
Like we could have climbed trees with it.
It is the first year.
Is it the first year? Okay. So I take a 66 too.
Yeah, you would. Yeah,
you know, but I would want one of those. I would want one of those. That's what I'd want, and then that way you could build it to whatever extent you wanted. And it would actually be a true body, but with everything new, to where if you just wanted to drive it to go get groceries, that's fine. But if you wanted to pull your boat to the lake, You could do it.
If you want to drive up the side of the mountain,
You could do
it.
Right.
I saw an old Bronco this week, actually. I think it was, might have been yesterday out driving. I don't know if it was
Basically,
a 65.
any of those first generations.
Right.
Any from like probably 72 on back would be that kind of that first generation. I guess 77 maybe. I said, now that you pull that up.
I guess the first,
not the OJ Bronco.
so apparently the first actual model year was in 1966, and they were made in 65. So that makes sense. And the first generation ended in 70. I just saw it, 77.
Yeah.
So, man, I saw one the other day. I think it might have been Sunday. I saw one the past week, and I thought, man, look at that old Bronco. Because I've been in the market for it. I didn't put this on my list, but I probably should have. So, just a side note, what would you say is the most dependable make, model vehicle on the road? Number one, right now.
I imagine it'd be, it'd be hard to bet against Toyota Camry.
Well, that would have been my guess, but the number one, it is a Toyota, however, the number one most reliable car, meaning get the most mileage of it, longest lasting vehicle on the road, is a Toyota Land Cruiser. Number one. Okay. And number two is the Toyota Sequoia, which is built on the built on the Land Cruiser frame. And this
they eat brakes.
Oh yeah, well they eat gas too.
They're heavy.
They
big. They don't have enough stopping power.
Right. And they are,
if you're going to buy a Sequoia,
tanks.
You got to put on big aftermarket oversized brakes.
And take out a mortgage on your house.
Or you'll be changing rotors every 2 months, every month.
I was going to end that. And so I've been on the lookout for older Land Cruisers, which hold their value. And, they have that Bronco look a little bit to them. And I was like, oh, no, but that's a Ford. But yeah, that's a cool choice, man. All right. So number 5 for me. Now I'm going to get into my television cars now because car shows were a big deal in the 80s, right? You had.
My next one's a TV car. For sure.
You had Knight Rider. Okay. You had the A-Team. I wanted that van. GMC. But the biggest. Love that theme. Nobody ever got shot. You see the Family Guy one where they're the A-Team. You've seen that one? And they're like, we're just going to shoot at your feet.
Yeah.
But we're not going to hit anybody. They never hit anybody in years. So, but my first television car, got 2 on this list. First television car, 1969 Dodge Charger.
Just a good old boy.
When I saw that Dukes of Hazzard, listen, on Friday nights, this was our Friday night when I was little. At 7:00, there was a game show. I can't remember the guy's name.
Tic-Tac-Toe?
Oh, well, Tic-Tac-Toe was with Wink Martindale and the Dragon, right?
Yeah.
At 7:00, I'm trying to figure out the order, but there was a show that was like a beauty pageant show, and I think it had Rip Taylor was the host. And then after that, there was another kind of game show thing. Can't remember what it was, but then at 8:00, by God, at 8:00 was the Dukes of Hazzard. And after that was the Incredible Hulk.
Oh,
you did and then let's see, were those on was the Dukes of Hazzard an hour or 30 minutes? It's an hour show, wasn't it?
I want to think it's an hour. I don't know. I can't remember.
But then at 9:00 was Dallas, and then 10:00 was Falcon Crest. That was Friday nights in the 80s. So, but when I saw that Charger, man, I thought, holy hell. And you talk about expensive. Go price a 1969 Dodge Charger.
And
to see if the Dukes of Hazzard didn't have
anything muscle car Mopar made.
Oh, yeah. It's back when Chrysler, Dodge kicked ass, and I mean major ass.
And especially the more obscure ones, even now, they're
Oh, you're outrageous.
Millions.
I watched the little thing on the Dodge on that when they came out with the Daytona 500 version of the Charger, and they put that big wing on the back of it because it was losing all the time. And then they started winning.
Super B.
Yeah, and then they're like, we got to cut that out. NASCAR said, no more wings on the car.
Yeah.
But not that orange Charger, man. I mean, just the way it sounded
It's
and
iconic.
looks.
I mean,
And there was a thing years ago during that same era where TV cars would, you know how you go to like Comic Con now and you can see, well, they had that for cars when I was a kid, and you could go see the General Lee. I got a picture with the General Lee, picture with Kit from Knight Rider. So 1969.
hello, Michael.
Dodge Charger. Hello, Michael. That was a great show, man. That was such a good show. Did it? Boy, I tell you what, it might suck now, but then
I'm just fucking with you.
Lordy mercy.
Oh, I watched it all the time, of course.
So 69 Dodge Charger.
Yeah. So, you know, my next one would have to be 1982 Ferrari 308 GTSI Rosso Corsa
Magnum,
Red.
baby.
Magnum PI, man. I'm sure you picked that one too.
I did.
Yeah,
it's on my list, but I'll switch.
Iconic.
I've got several on my list that were ties, but that 308, man.
If you were going to have a Ferrari, and it's probably, you could probably buy one now for $75,000.
Probably.
I mean, you know,
which is still
you can buy one of those, or you can go out and buy
a new truck,
a Z71 with 4 doors.
That's right.
Well, that's extreme, isn't it?
That's right.
For $70,000. No, thank you. I don't want to look like the guy that's got the balls hanging off his fuking head.
Oh, God. Listen, if you got your balls,
I'll take the 308 in Rosso Red.
Yeah. I mean, and to interject on the balls hanging off your hitch,
God.
if you've got that hanging on your hitch, just come on to the honky tonk so we can beat your ass for you.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can take those off because that's dumb. But, so yours number 5, or is that 6? Is that 6?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Let's see, I had the Cobra
6.
Jet.
That's 6.
That's 6. Oh, so I only got one more. Okay. All right.
Well, I did a list of top 10, but I did top 10. I don't know why I did top 10, but
that's okay.
We can have some honorable mentions. All right. So number 6 for me. Man, this is my favorite truck of all time. The body style on this. And it's partly because, you know, it's like a lot of things in our life. You know, my daddy liked that. And so I liked it. You know, the Yankees. That's how I got to be a Yankees fan. That's all Dad could hear.
Put that shit on your dad.
Yeah, that's all the Dad. I want to go ahead and let's see.
Go ahead.
If you're looking for a good lighter.
Make everybody throw up that's watching at home.
So Dad watched, he listened to Mickey Mantle and he grew up with that stuff. Grew up with that shit. And so he told me about this truck, and he had a buddy that had one. I don't know if it was the same year as this one, but I picked this year because of the grill, kind of like you did. But the Chevy trucks from, I think it was from 67 to 72, that C10 body style.
Uh-huh.
The 1971 Chevy C10.
Oh, that's a gorgeous truck.
Because in the grill, it had that cross.
I would have picked a 72.
Yeah.
But they're basically the same.
Yeah.
My brother, let me tell you, go ahead. I hijack.
Short bed.
I hijack you all the time.
The short bed, the long bed I'd take, but the short bed just it's just a great looking truck, man. I love the old Fords too. But that's a great looking truck, and that would be my dream truck, 71. I'd probably, if I had that, I'd probably give it to Dad and say, here, drive this. But because he turned me on to that, and his buddy Richard Ford had one like that. I don't know what year it was. And he owned he was part owner in a dealership, and he kept the car at the dealer in the
Really?
Well, back in the, he's there all the time. Had his car, I think it was in the shop or whatever, parked in there. And some son of a bitch come in during business hours and drove that thing home and stole it. Yeah.
Okay.
That's some getting your ass shot kind of stuff there now.
Yeah.
71 C10 Chevy.
Well, I'm going to change mine. I was getting ready to put the only Chevrolet on my list.
Well, you're a Ford man. So.
And an honorable mention would have to be a 1971 Z28 Camaro. And the reason I like the 71, I love the split bumper.
Oh, hell for.
And you don't see them. You see 66, you see 68, 67, 69.
There it is. Drop my cigar.
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
All right, it's my bad.
You got it?
Yeah. Still it.
You just don't see the split bumper.
You don't see a split bumper, and those are highly sought after.
Yeah. I mean, you just don't see them. And they're just cool as shit looking. But because I haven't picked a truck.
Oh, okay. Truck time.
And you picked a truck for your last one, I'm going to say I'd like to have a 1972 F100.
Oh, man.
Bump side, short bed.
Oh, you want the bumps, the step side.
Yeah. No. The bump is so if you remember down like the top of your body line, like on the fenders.
Yeah.
So you had, that's called the bump side.
Okay. Well,
and some of them were a dent side that had the little channel.
Okay.
And I like the bump side.
God, I love that look of that truck. I learned to drive.
And the 72 short bed.
A 72
like
short.
your 71, or did you say 70? You said
71 because of the grill.
Yeah. 72 was my,
such a good
68 or 72. I settled for either one of them. F100 bump sides.
I learned to drive on an F100.
Yeah.
It was, my granddaddy had one that was yellow and like black, and it had a 3 on a tree.
Yeah.
And that's what I learned to drive on.
So what they're doing with those nowadays is they're putting Marquis or Crown Vic
motors in them.
Front ends. So you've got all that power steering.
So it's more of a driver than just because here's the big thing, and a lot of people don't know this, but we can attest to this. Trucks didn't start riding like cars until the 90s.
Yeah.
Before then, they rode like trucks, and
maybe because they're a fucking truck.
Browser fucking truck. But yes, we went through that era where everybody had to have a truck. And so they started driving like cars. And there's something to be said for that. But there's also something to be said for riding like a tractor and pulling a building off its blocks. Mm-hmm. And that's what a truck's for. So that is your last one. Well,
okay. So real quick, while you get your last one ready. So a funny story, my brother had a 72 GMC short bed, 2-tone, navy and white, or royal blue and white. About the color of your shirt. So maybe a little bit lighter. Not quite Honolulu blue like the Detroit Lions, but in between that and navy, right?
Yeah. 2-tone, C10.
2-tone, double chrome package.
Right.
Beautiful short bed, fucking beautiful. And at that time, he had always, anytime my brother traded cars a lot. So, back in the day, what you used to do is when you traded cars or you got you something new, you didn't go to show it off, but you kind of went to show it off a little bit to like your buddy's house or your mom and dad's house or your girl or your girlfriend or your cousin, you took it around. Hey, come outside and look what I just got, and then you'd take a joyride in it.
Absolutely.
And you'd talk and you'd laugh and you'd cut up and everybody was happy that she got you something nice, blah, blah, blah.
Happy for you.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Happy and happy. It's
hard to come by now.
Oh, I think that's a freaking truth. So my brother, he come driving up in that and I was just like, oh, I mean, I loved it. You know, it was so just, it's the same kind of truck that all those baseball players, college baseball players these days looking like Joe Diffie. That's what they'd really want to, if the truth was known.
Right.
Except for that Evansville kid that looked like Tracy Lawrence. And what did we do to him, Jamie?
12-1.
Painted him a Birmingham.
That's right.
So, at any rate, he has this truck, and I loved it, right? And he comes in like, I don't know, I'm just making shit up at this point. I don't know if it's 6 months, 2 months, whatever. Comes in 6 months later, let's say. He comes in, comes to the door, knocks. Hey, come out here. Look what I just got. And I thought, if he's traded that truck, I'll kill him.
Right.
I'll stab him right in the neck with if I can only find a flat bladed screwdriver of my dad's, I'll kill him with it. Not only did he trade the truck.
Oh, Lord. Guess
what he traded it for?
What year was this?
I don't know.
Was it a new car he traded for?
Yes. He traded it for, you'll never guess.
Yeah.
So I'm just going, he traded that beautiful, a year off from being your dream truck.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I'd have took that one just the same.
Exactly. Only difference was maybe a tail light or a grill, yeah. I mean, there wasn't no difference. Body line's all the same. He traded that son of a bitch for a Ford Pinto station wagon.
Did you beat him to death in the front yard?
Blue. Wait for it. You ready? With the wood grain, the faux wood grain siding on it. Bought it brand new at like Allen Russell Ford on Clinton Highway.
And traded that truck in.
And I just went outside and threw up.
Oh, I'd have been.
What do you think about it? It's great, isn't it?
Like
my mom's just like, oh, yeah.
You look at old cars like that and you think, man, they really liked that back then? No, we didn't like it then either.
Oh, it was horrible. Why would you do that? Evidently, he had brain damage.
He regretted it, I bet, after that, too. That son of a bitch Pinto didn't last 3 years.
No.
We had a Pinto station wagon when I was a kid. And we thought it was cool because the seats laid down and you could ride in the back. But, you know. But golly, trade in. That happens.
Well, and I don't know, man.
All right, so.
Worst trade known to man.
I got a bunch on my list and I'll mention them as honorable, but I'm going to pick this as my last one because if you said, Jamie, you can go, this would be my daily driver now. A matter of fact, if I find one in good shape, it may be my daily driver. Okay, I've been threatening it at home.
Who may have created a monster.
It may not fit in the driveway because it's so long. But
Jamie might have came up with this list just to justify this purchase.
That could be. That may be the case. I want an 89 would be preferable, but I'd take any of them. I want a Cadillac Brougham, one of those Fleetwood, long, not a car that turns, you point. Drive it like a battleship. Mm-hmm. That's what I want. If I had that, y'all couldn't tell me nothing. I'll tell you right now.
Well, I sent you a few pictures of those. Not quite the right one yet.
What, the caddies?
Yeah, I've messaged you a few of them on like Facebook Marketplace and all that different shit.
The ones that had the taillights that always would separate from the body.
Yeah.
That's what I need.
Okay, I may have to renege. I may have to renege on my last choice, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to. Yeah, there's no doubt about it. I got a Bronco. I got shit I can pull. I can haul. Yeah. May I renege on this?
So your F-100's now honorable mention card.
F-100 can go fuck off. I want a 1974 Plymouth Tradesman, Dodge Tradesman, or a Plymouth Voyager short wheelbase van, cargo style, no windows, and I want, I either want a chick in a no windows.
No windows, okay.
Yeah. I either want a chick holding the reins in a bikini, in a fur bikini, holding back 2 polar bears on a sled, or I want some wizard shit going on the side of it. I want a 74 Dodge Tradesman or a Plymouth Voyager, but I want it in a California street van style.
Okay.
1970s, put me some shag carpet, a disco ball, a bar in it, the whole 9 yards. That's what I want, with old school five-star Krager slot mags on it.
3-speed. 2.
I don't give a fuck.
I'll tell you how I know that. I'm pretty sure it's 3-speed. When we started catering for Backyard Burger years ago,
I'd probably want an automatic. But
this one was an automatic, but it was a 70s van, Dodge van like that. It had windows on it, but it was carpeted. It was blue. It was baby blue. And that was one of the catering vehicles that we drove, was that Dodge van. And man, it was like stepping in a time machine. There's something about all this, and he mentioned it earlier, but the nostalgia behind the cars and whatever else. Listen, for all you new people out there that were raised on the internet and, had a cell phone in kindergarten and all that, I really wish this for your generation and for people younger than us, that you will get to experience once in your lifetime what it's like to ride in a car, an American-made automobile with a carbureted motor, to get to experience what that's like. It sounds like, oh, that's old. Listen, all these cars, I don't think I've named a car with fuel injection yet, except for that 300ZX. I know I haven't. Well, the Lamborghini might have had fuel injection, but anyway, there's something about old. Oh God!
Come on, man! What you talking about?
Shaggin' wagon.
What you talking about, Willis? That's what I'm talking about.
Oh man, you'd be on every news alert in town, buddy.
Who gives a fuck?
I want to look out for a bearded man in a rapist van.
No. You got to stop saying that.
Oh, great choice, man.
No, you're exactly right. I mean, there's something, and it don't have to be all that, but there's something in your past or in your childhood or something in your nostalgia machine that you're going to remember about a certain vehicle in time. And then guess what? It's okay if it's your favorite.
Oh yeah,
and it doesn't
can't help when you were born,
and it doesn't have to be. It's okay to be nonconformist on it. How's that?
Sure.
You don't have to. It doesn't have to be again. And I know I'm picking on this, but it don't have to be the '69 Camaro. Don't have to be
57 Chevy. It can be.
It can be whatever you want it to be. Again, it could be it could be a
300
1978 SL diesel 4-door sled Mercedes, That could have been, what they drove you to daycare in. It could have been the memories that are tied with them. That's what, to me, hell, how cool would it be to find another Electra?
Oh, God, if I drive it today.
Or of 79, the Fiesta, Yeah, like I said earlier, you driving around the block and you would think of 10,000 memories would overflood your mind about what you could tell and things that you remembered about being in one of those cars.
I can still imagine myself getting in that car. I can remember the controls on the seats. I can still feel myself putting that thing into gear. Wow.
That's what I'm talking about.
Oh, my Lord. That's what you need.
Yeah,
you need one of those.
I know.
Yeah.
I agree.
On my rest of my list, I just wrote a bunch of stuff down, but these are some of my other favorites. Like, I love the 77 Trans Am because of Smokey and the Bandit.
Sure.
The Ferrari 308, the Dodge Viper. When the Dodge Viper came out, I thought, man, I want one of those V12. The Mitsubishi 3000 GT, which was also the Dodge Stealth. Same.
The all-wheel drive.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah. Those
Bud
are badass.
Brewster had one of those. It was his wife's, and he
those
would
are
drive.
badass cars.
Yeah, and then the only real fantasy cars that I put on here were like the '67 Shelby Cobra Super Snake, which is like there ain't any. It's $1 million car. But then in 1991, the McLaren F1 came out, and that was like the first time we saw a supercar that didn't have Ferrari or Lambo or Porsche written on it, and we were like, oh man, that's bad. And that's still a car that I'm like, oh, I can remember being 16, 17 years old thinking, man, if I had that, I'd be somebody, You
remember the Lotus?
Oh, yeah.
Like the one in, I can't remember which, I can't remember right offhand which Bond movie it was in, but it was when Roger Moore was Bond. So it would either been like Octopussy or, any rate.
Moonraker.
Yeah. He drove like a Lotus.
Lotus, I think Lotus is still around, but I don't know a whole lot about them.
Yeah.
But yeah, that Lotus, there was a Lotus on that test drive game.
I like to have one of those, I think it was probably like a 18 model, 2018, something like that. But they made that Dodge Magnum in the station wagon with the SRT, with the Hemi that had like 600 damn horsepower.
Yep.
I like that. Yeah, that'd be.
Yeah, I'd drive a station wagon.
Those things are mean looking, man.
Well, I'm a big fan of that. I want one of those Hellcats.
Yeah.
I mean, that's way more horsepower than I could possibly need. And there's nothing good that would come of me owning that. Zero.
I think they got one called a Demon.
Yeah.
That's even more than the Hellcat. Man.
They make a Jeep Cherokee that's based on that whole thing. That's like,
I've seen that. Yeah.
750 horsepower or something.
Like, what are you going to do?
I don't know. I mean.
So I tell you a funny one on my buddy Carl. I sent him a thing. We were talking about this same kind of thing. We were shooting shit one day. And I was just, happened to be sitting there looking at my phone, and I looked. And Ford was making a actual extended cab, still making just an extended cab. No 4 doors, no extra, whatever. And you could order it in as plain Jane version as you wanted, or you could step it up through all the packages. But basically, you could order this truck 700 horsepower.
Oh my God.
With add-ons and blah, blah, blahs. And I sent that to him, and 4 days later, he was like, "You son of a bitch. You're killing me." I was like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "I've been up for 4 days straight. I ain't slept a week. I've been building the truck." He said, "I'm buying one of those. I got to go to Iowa to pick it up or something.
Wow.
You know,
Who was his now?
Carl.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So he got him one. But yeah. Yeah, the stuff they can do now with technology and stuff, it's unbelievable.
Do you remember those? I guess they were early '90s versions of the S10 called the Cyclone and the Typhoon. Yeah. The Cyclone, I think, was the S10, and the Typhoon was like the
GMC,
the Jimmy or whatever. And it seems like Randy Travis had a Cyclone or something, and that was like his truck that he drove around. I don't know why I thought about that, but that thing had a bunch of horsepower. It was 0 to 60 in 5.9 or something.
And then Ford came out with the Lightning.
Yep.
And of course now the Raptor and all that. But I'm telling you, man, vehicles are so overpriced these days.
I don't see how people.
I don't understand, Big Dan.
I mean, I can remember when I first started driving, I thought, man, $30,000, that better have Mercedes written on it. And now Camry's $30,000.
Your entry-level cars.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Dodge and I guess
$25,000.
Dodge had a Dodge Shadow.
Entry-level.
That was their entry-level car. And I think it was $6,000 when I was in high school. $6,000. You can't get a set of wheels.
I sold Corollas all day long for $99.99.
And boy, I'd love to have one. Now,
hell yeah.
Something's still running.
1998 Corolla, $99.99.
Golly.
You know, I mean,
wow.
And now you couldn't sneeze at one.
Oh,
10 grand.
They make a Corolla SUV now. I saw one this week.
Oh, really?
It's called the Corolla something. It's a SUV. But man, it's kind of like we talk about with sports. You know, it's good for, like, say, college football. I'm not a Notre Dame college football fan. I hate their guts, but it's good for college football when Notre Dame is good, right? It's good for baseball when the Dodgers and the Red Sox and the Cubs and Yankees are good. It's good. It's good for cars when the American cars are good.
Yeah.
And I miss, of course, we really didn't grow up in an era. They were dominated by the Japanese market, but I wish that we could get back to making, to leading the pack.
Yeah.
With that, because I drive an American vehicle, you drive an American vehicle, but as far as what people think of them, when I said longest lasting car, you didn't pull Dodge out of your hat, you pulled Toyota, and you were right. Yeah. And I just wish that we could get back to that kind of thing. And I miss the days, even in our lifetime, when the cars they were racing on the track, you could get one similar looking, at least. Now that's stock cars out, that stock car hell.
Next gen.
Yeah. So I miss that about cars. Yeah. And, as we move into the electric car age, there's a movie, it's a comedy movie out there. I forget what it's called, but it's got Vince Vaughn and, Kevin James in it, and they have a company, and they have created this sound for engines for electric cars, so you still get the engine sound,
right?
And I thought, man, is that what we're going to come to? Is that we're going to have electric cars and then have to pipe in the music, if you will? It's a crazy thing, but we could talk cars the rest of our life. And I don't know a whole lot about them, except I like them. I like to drive them.
Yeah, they're cool, man.
And I think everybody that's ever got a driver's license has had a fantasy about owning some vehicle or driving one. So,
yeah.
Anyway.
Well, have you got all your dreams? I hope all your dreams come true.
Yeah, well, I've got some that I didn't list. But yeah, man. I mean, I would be happy with any of these, but I have to say, out of all of them, if you said, Jamie, you can have one. What you going to drive? It'd be the Cadillac.
Yeah. Well, there's something about a Cadillac.
Something about big, cushy rides.
Yeah.
And just.
I like my big old car. I like my big car. I never, ever drove one like that my entire life, and I got in that one, test drove it and everything, you know, when I found it, and I was just like, yeah, I can get used to this. This is comfort.
Big old leg room, big old, you know,
back seat.
Yeah. Big old back seat and trunk. Yeah. But I miss those days and I still look at, they still make some big cars, but the day of the sedan is over, isn't it?
Yeah, totally over.
It's,
well, your police departments don't even use a sedan anymore. They use SUVs.
Yeah, I know. And that sucks for me, but
but I hate them. I hate that you can't go to Ford or Chevy or something like that unless you're an educated shopper and you've done your homework. But for, little Jimmy Lipper and little Sally, Chapstick Susie out here, they're going to go and they're going to think if they're going to get them a truck, it's going to have 4 doors. It's going to have this bed. It's going to have this. It's going to have that. It's going to be this, instead of being to the day to where you could walk in and you'd say, oh yeah, I want the vinyl floors, but I want the upgrade on the engine, the upgrade on the tow package, the upgrade on this, or
right,
and order it by spec of exactly how you want it. I mean, it's only $70,000.
Yeah,
you'd think you'd get exactly what you want and wouldn't have to compromise to be like, well, you got to get this package to get the all inclusive da 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 da.
Yeah.
But that's not the way it is. So.
Well, and they're pushing out these loans to 10 years.
Oh,
I mean, they got to $70,000, $1,500 a month.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a house payment and a half.
And So
for something you're going to drive maybe 5 years, 6.
The highest depreciating item that you will ever purchase is a new vehicle.
That's right.
Period.
Yeah, I had this talk the other day. There is no reason ever, in my opinion, to buy a new vehicle except for one. And that's for if you are able to write that expense off to some degree. And I have bought new vehicles and I have bought used vehicles. And the only difference is that the used vehicle, you get more for your money.
I don't care if it's got Mercedes, Ferrari, Tesla, Toyota, Ford. I don't care what emblem it's got on the front and the back of it. I don't care what the make, year, or model is. If it's a new vehicle, as soon as you drive it off the lot, you're losing 30%.
Boom.
As soon as all 4 tires cross the curb, you just lost 30% of your money.
That's right.
And you'll never gain it back. And I know used car rates and used car prices that are an all-time high, and that's great, but they're still under 30% of what you paid for it. Ever.
Yeah.
Always.
Yep.
Now, can you make educated, smart decisions? Of course you can. But a car, bottom line, is a car, is a car, is a car. And the business is the business is the business. And it is the single most highest depreciating item that you'll ever purchase.
That's right.
So.
That's right. Don't buy new cars.
Now that you've turned into dream cars and finance, we'll say this to say all of that. Thanks for sticking around. What's your dream cars? Share with us your dream cars. Let us know what thing trips your trigger, or maybe something that you remember about a certain make, year, model, or something in a childhood or in your teenage years, formidable years as a young adult. Share, like, subscribe. Visit us on our social media pages. put some links in the or put some comments down of things that you remember, or maybe again dream cars that you're thinking about.
Come and see us at our shows.
Come and see us at our shows. Support our local businesses that are supporting us: Trailhead, Chop Shop, and Campbell's Music Room Guitars. And also the most important thing, and I try to do this every time. I'm going to make a better effort of actually getting it done every time. Be kind to one another. Love one another. Anybody can be an asshole, and it really takes somebody special not to be. It costs nothing to be kind, but remember, there's always a price that'll be paid for cruelty. So.
And speaking of kind, it's getting to be about that time. We need to start mentioning that if you're not aware of the Mike McGill Christmas Spectacular, it's already, by the time this episode comes out, you're going to be halfway into July, and it's a charity event that we do every year. Mike's been putting it on for 10 years straight. Well, 10 years.
This will be 12. This year will be 12.
That's right.
Yeah, this will be the 12th year.
And it like I said,
it benefits the Second Harvest Food for Kids program at Second Harvest Food Bank here in East Tennessee. It's, it didn't start out as being a benefit or being a fundraiser. It didn't do that until its 4th year. And with last year's totals, we've provided over 100,000 meals for children.
That's right.
That 1 out of 6 of them, even in today's day and age here in rural East Tennessee, will go to bed hungry. So, yes, thanks for mentioning that. If you can, check that out. We got a YouTube link up of if you go under and just type in Mike McGill's Christmas Spectacular, we got year 10 videoed.
That's right.
You can check that out on YouTube. Basically a who's who of Knoxville artists and people that are maybe traveling through the area, and we get them together and try to put on a concert and raise a bunch of money for people, for kids. Kids ask for a lot of things for Christmas, but they don't ever ask to go to bed hungry. So
that's right.
If you could share and support that, that'd be great. You want to do another one?
Absolutely.
All right. Cheers, everybody.
Cheers, everybody.
One more for the good guys. You either is or you ain't. You do or you don't. You can or you can't. Or you will or you won't. Either way, baby, a good man, well, he's hard to find.